I had a saying until recently, which is, you are going to die at your desk. Choose which desk it is.
I remember you saying this, yeah.
So be really careful what your last role was.
Right.
But that changed this weekend. But somebody recently said to me, weren't you really brave to leave? But I'm here to talk about my cowardice, which is the number of things that I had in place to make sure that this was safe for me. So it's things like trialing out. You mentioned earlier about I trialed being a coach.
Yes.
In my part-time, what little time I had, while I was still working in corporate. And that was one of the most fulfilling things.
Yeah.
So I don't want to go quietly. I don't want to just sort of drift out. I want to do something that I really enjoy doing. I may fail at parts of it. I've failed at some of it already.
Yeah.
But just continuing to continue wasn't going to be it. It absolutely wasn't going to be it.
Look, people be sat back probably questioning, why now? What's got you to this point in your life at the age of 56 when you're so close to retirement, or you're so close to that age where you can sort of chill out, you've done the graft, you're mortgage free, you're debt free, but you've still decided to choose something that most people deem as, I don't know, what would you say people of your age would deem coaching as? What do they say about it?
Oh, that's really interesting.
Hey guys, are you feeling burnt out or wanting a quick break away from the daily grind? Well, our friends over at Cyro Boca Place offer the ultimate destination for those seeking a blend of luxury wellness, adventure, and restoration. If you know me, you know I'm fully invested in health and well-being. So if you don't prioritize yourself first, how are you supposed to be showing up for others around you? Looking for an experience like this, head over to www.cyrohotels.com. Hey everyone, and welcome back to Master Your Life Beyond the Boardroom. I'm your podcast host, Luke Beeston. We are in our in-person studio today in Nottingham, and we are joined with a guest. Now, this is something that he's like, yeah, just go and share it. He's actually our oldest guest that we have had on our show. But just sharing a glimpse of his story, so I'm gonna let him introduce himself in just a second. We met through social media platform. I'm going to plug in Emma here because we sort of connected through there. But Nick left behind a very well-paid but also high-role senior director at a pharmaceutical company. And he was high up, and he left it behind to pursue his life's purpose in coaching individuals through different facets of their life. We're going to go into that. As a leadership coach, he has turned his passion, tested it out for 3 years, into a business that is transforming people's lives. And that's something that, as you all know, guys, is something that I'm very passionate about as well. And I love hearing stories like this. So we're going to delve 1 mile deep into Nick's journey. So without further ado, Nick, welcome to Master Your Life Beyond the Boardroom podcast.
Thank you. I've never had an introduction like that. So I kind of recognise that from some of the things we've just been talking over a coffee. Thank you for buying that. But yeah, you've reminded me that my career was 37 years in various pharmaceutical roles.
Right.
But somebody recently said to me, weren't you really brave to leave? But I'm here to talk about my cowardice, which is the number of things that I had in place to make sure that this was safe for me. So it's things like trialing out. You mentioned earlier about I trialed being a coach.
Yes.
In my part-time, what little time I had, while I was still working in corporate. And that was one of the most fulfilling things.
Yes.
But knowing then that I was getting fulfillment from that was something that drove me more to, as I think you described, to find my life's purpose.
Yeah.
And in so doing, I needed to know the process that I took to do that. So I have kind of an 8 or a 9 stage process I went through and kept revisiting that. And that's what gave me the decision to do it. But it was based on cowardice in that I needed to be absolutely sure.
Yeah.
And there were a number of other things I made sure I had in place, a bit like making sure my mortgage was paid off before I gave up my bloated salary, making sure I didn't have any other loans before I decided not to earn anything, and then cheekily saved a bit of money in readiness for when I wasn't earning, between roles, as it were.
But this is really powerful. I mean, obviously we had a great conversation beforehand, and I think just as we was already talking, and I'm sure the guests sort of watching this today and listening in will probably think, okay, so what age are you? Because I didn't actually say that. So 56 years of age. Look, people will be sat back probably questioning, why now? What's got you to this point in your life at the age of 56 when you're so close to retirement, or you're so close to that age where you can sort of chill out, you've done the graft, you're mortgage free, you're debt free, but you've still decided to choose something that most people would deem as, I don't know, what would you say people of your age would deem coaching as? What do they say about it?
Oh, that's really interesting, because most people don't know what coaching is. They assume it's giving advice, and what I would term mentoring, which is advise me, tell me what to do.
Yeah.
But most people that I coach are entrepreneurs or have been in business, in corporate, those sort of things. So they know their own mind. They just need a little bit of help with it. And things like podcasts, self-help books, training courses get them so far. They have something that they just want to augment and do something more. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting, I anticipated you asking the question, why didn't you just continue?
Yes.
And we talked earlier about continuing to retirement. Most people can get access to their pension, I think, 55.
Yeah.
Most people hang on till 60. I had a saying until recently, which is, you are going to die at your desk. Choose which desk it is.
I remember you saying this,
So be really careful what your last role was.
Right.
But that changed this weekend. My youngest son came home for the weekend, and we happened to be, eating or drinking, and we were discussing around what to do with one's life. And I turned to him and said, what can you remember about your grandfathers? What they did, and what they were good for, and what they were good at?
Right.
And the answer was, he couldn't remember any of that. And that isn't a statement of him.
Yep.
That is, every part of our life is transient. Within 1 or 2 generations, gone. Mm. So who does it matter to? And it matters to me what I do.
Yeah.
So I don't want to go quietly. I don't want to just sort of drift out.
Yes, sir.
I want to do something that I really enjoy doing. I may fail at parts of it. I've failed at some of it already.
Yeah.
But just continuing to continue wasn't going to be it. It absolutely wasn't going to be it.
Yeah, but this is really good though, because it's inspiring hearing you, Nick, because it's sort of like most people, again, this kind of slowing down and drifting and maybe comfortable, and they've got, like you said about the bloated salary, you've been in it for 37 years. 37 years, it's like, well, why change now? What's brought you to this? What is it, coach? Is it fluffy? Is it a term that's a bit like, what is it, sort of thing? And obviously, as we know, as coaches, it is sort of a fast growing industry. A lot of people are coming into this industry to help transform people's lives. But you spoke about purpose, and I think this is a really good sort of word to touch on, because I think as men, finding a purpose is the biggest thing for us to keep going and ultimately feel that life's worth living, if that makes sense. So what does purpose mean to you?
So it's the thing that I can rely on when I have to endure. When things are going really badly, it's something beyond that thing you see in the foreground that you say, it's because of that thing on the horizon that I continue to do what I'm doing, and it's getting past those things you need to endure. And it's also a way of kind of celebrating, probably a bit like religion, celebrating something that's great that has happened in the foreground, because it's part of what you're aiming for, or something that's really persistent within you. And I think that's why a lot of people with religion, which I don't unfortunately have, put that down to a deity or whatever. They can say that's kind of their purpose. And purpose for me goes beyond things like goals, because you achieve a goal, you reach a goal. Purpose is absolutely persistent. Right. So some of the things that I want to do is help people, whether they've got the potential to do more, or whether they're really struggling and suffering right now. That for me is a big part of why I do what I do. And I'll never achieve that, because there will always be somebody else that presents with a unique set of circumstances, be it positive or more challenging.
Yeah, it's a really sort of interesting insight that you share there. I mean, just even about the purpose, like I say, the persistence and beyond that, there's obviously deeper meaning to it. It's basically never going away, even when times get tough, I guess. It's sort of being aligned with that. How long for you did you, if you can remember or recall the time frame, that you felt that you lacked purpose, or you felt that it wasn't really there for you?
Oh, I've never been asked that. That's a really good question. God, that goes back so far to a conversation that we had before, which is around core values.
Right.
And core values aren't your purpose, but it was the first thing that I saw that opened my mind to how I think and how I operate.
Right.
And it must have been 25, 27, maybe more years ago that I did an exercise to work out what my core purpose, my core values were. Interestingly, I did it probably another 20 plus years later, and they happen to be the same. And for me, that was really goes back to the point you were making about something is enduring. For me, I've now found my purpose.
Yes.
But equally, my core values were enduring for me too.
Yep.
So I think even back as far as 25 years ago, I had an inkling that I needed to do something that gave me self-worth, gave something back, and I really enjoyed doing. But I think finding my own life's purpose was probably about 2019 when I was laid up, having had an operation on my knee, nothing better to do. I determined a process to find my life's purpose. And that was just so liberating in so doing.
So, okay, this is good then. This is really good for the guys obviously listening. So realistically then, you're actually saying 20 plus years you struggled to find what that purpose was for you. However, that's not necessarily negative. If we spin it into a positive, it meant that you was always, because you knew something. So the seed was sort of planted, but it was finding out the right moment and that feeling of like, right, okay, I'm ready to sort of go for it now, which 2019 was. You'd slowed right down. You had an injury. It gave you loads of space. So when that happened then, that injury in your life, what was the first thing, if you can remember, that you did that sort of gave you that catapult into that life purpose, or gave you that maybe the deep work that you did for yourself to think, oh, I'm getting somewhere with this?
So I think it was looking forward to, I knew how long I was going to be off work, so I had a bit of time to think.
How long was you off work for?
9.5 weeks.
Oh, wow.
But some of those were on mind-altering drugs for the pain at the beginning, so they were less fruitful. But actually, most of the time, I just thought, well, I can use this in one way, but actually I need to use it in the second way. One way is take the time to think, but if you're not careful, it can be a think-a-thon. And you do nothing. Actually it was, I need to do something. So if I had a thought, I needed to come up with an action. Another thought, another action.
Yeah.
And even if it was something as simple as, what are my core values? Oh, I've done that before, 20 odd years ago.
Yeah.
I could revisit it. The other one could be, if I've got a passion for something, is it a priority for me at the moment? Am I reading the right types of things that will help centre some of my focus on what I really want to do? And am I prioritising the right sort of things? So it was around thinking all of those things, but making sure I was doing some of them. And one of the doings was writing it, which is, as I thought of a step, I put it in no particular order, saying that's something I should consider. And then once I'd finished the process, came up with my life's purpose, started working towards it, or more specifically using it, I then recorded it in a way where I intend to publish it, albeit free of charge, on LinkedIn as a newsletter, as the life's purpose hiking map for people to see what I did and see if it would be of any value to them too.
But that's amazing though, because it's your story. You know, it's sort of the adversity, the challenges that you've been through. Obviously, you know, even that, having an injury, you know, being drugged up, probably brain being a little bit all over the place, but then slowing down, knowing that there's sort of there's thinking and doing. You don't want to spend too much time in thinking. Yes, you can think. There's nothing wrong with that. Bit of space, writing stuff down, but then there has to be action to move towards it. I'd love to know. I know this is a bit of a question away from yourself. What did your wife think of this sort of endeavour and this like purpose work that you was doing?
So that she is a really liberated person. In so much as she does see the risk in things.
Sure.
But I think I'm even more risk averse than she is. But she was able to take, I think we talked before, people see you differently than you do. 100%. And she spotted some things in me, which is I said earlier, I couldn't remember the last time I'd gone shopping because I was coming home late from work. My dogs were getting fed before I got home because I was coming home late from work.
Yeah.
She would hold on massively to eat together, but then I came home so late from work, I wouldn't see her in the mornings. So when I came and said, I think I want to do something different, couldn't believe the amount of support.
Right.
Really, like, not surprised, just delighted with her response, which is, you're plainly not happy. If you've thought it through,
amazing.
if you're going to plan to do something else, what is it? She keeps me grounded by saying, well, you need to stand out from others if you're going to be a coach, be a mentor, that sort of thing. I absolutely couldn't do it without her. Wow. Absolutely couldn't.
What's been the best bit of support that she's said to you that you thought at that time when maybe, I'm not saying doubt crept in, but maybe, at the end of the day, what you got to think about here, just for people sort of listening in, checking in here, you've been in an industry for 37 years. It's a long time. It's comfortable. You know what you're getting paid each month. To then be sat there and having that conversation. Again, nobody knows what's going on behind closed doors. You just shared some examples there, which, you know what my response was. It's like, oh, wow. People would be like, that might be a little bit of me where you're missing out on these things, you're home late. Yeah, what did she say to you in a moment where you felt that self-doubt that just thought, this is meant to be? Because sometimes you need that support, don't you, in that?
It's kind of the thing, two-part answer, I guess. It's kind of the thing she didn't say. So she didn't say, we're going to miss the salary, we're going to miss the private healthcare, we're going to miss these sort of things. That was taken for read, and she gave opportunities like, well, if we needed private healthcare, when you're established, we could pay for that separately. God, that's really liberating statement.
Yeah.
But the other thing that she did was really compassionate questioning, not judgmental questioning, which is, how would you do that? Not, how would that be done? It's so subtle.
Yes.
And I do hope she knows she does it, but it's so subtle that it just comes across as a bit like I do, which is get people to think of the options and the ability to do something rather than channeling people down to the negativity and you need to overcome this before you can think further. So I'd say it's her compassionate questioning.
That's really good. That's a nice share as well, because I think sometimes, when you're on this journey from being, like you say, in corporate, being employed, to then maybe leaning into this world of the unknown of, maybe, at that probably time you didn't know whether it was going to become this business that you wanted. It was just something as a bit of fun, a bit of playfulness, and now it is. It's always important, I feel anyway, and I'm sure you're feeling this now, just to have that somebody there to give you that belief and that, look, I'm here to support you every single step of the way.
Yeah, and you've just reminded me, it wasn't just my wife. So part of the upbringing of our two sons is we've always said to them, pursue a bit of a passion.
Right.
I couldn't quite believe when my youngest son came out of his last year in junior school and told us what he wanted to be.
Right.
And he is that. And I was thinking, can you spell architecture? When he was telling me at the age of 10 and 11. My youngest son wanted to be a PT, but also a semi-professional rugby player.
Right.
And that's exactly what he did.
Wow.
So they have probably absorbed a little bit of our support, but both my sons have been really supportive to me. And not just their platitudes of give it a go, but actually asking questions and checking in on progress. So you think this is really conscious support rather than platitudes. So I do owe them something, but I obviously don't want to tell them that on camera.
don't be soppy, but no, it's brilliant though. I think that's a nice. You can tell how tight your family unit is. Obviously, it's come from you though, as the leader,
and my wife,
and your wife.
Oh yeah.
What I'm saying is your synergy, your sort of teamwork in obviously raising the kids. But then, how nice is that to be reciprocated though? Later on in life.
Yeah, it's really interesting. My eldest son taught me to be a father. My youngest son helped me refine that because I made some awful mistakes. But now they're teaching me how to be an older person. I don't mean an old person as in an OAP, but actually they lend me support that traditionally I would have provided to them. They give me advice where I think, wow, where's that come from? Well, the answer is from a 27 and 29-year-old adult. So they've got some life experience that I haven't. definitely some things to offer me that I didn't know and didn't quite expect naively. So good to receive.
Yeah.
So good.
What do you think, I mean, like, upon reflection now, obviously having this great support system at home as well, what's been the thing that sort of has helped you transform in yourself from those family members that you would like to share on this podcast today?
It's almost a repetition of what I said earlier. The most important person in my life with regard to support and compassionate questioning is my wife. The fact that she was willing to listen to something that is a bit risky.
Yeah.
And she hasn't seen me coach, so she doesn't know if I'm any good at this or not.
Right.
She's seen me kind of play at it a little bit. Massive leap of faith, but that's actually what she had. Trust, faith, manifesting in compassionate questioning, whatever it is. She is the most influential person in this decision. I could have wanted to do this for many years more, but blimey, I've done it.
Wow. Yeah, you have done it.
Yeah,
You're on the path. I think that's a really good. I can see it coming back to the same sort of theme of, like I say, the compassion, but the questioning. I think that's a sort of big thing. It's sort of in life we can come by people that essentially would support us, but just agree.
Yeah.
You know, just like, go for it sort of thing. But there's been an element of challenge, but also that compassion where you feel that they're engaged in this decision that you're making as well, which I think's...
Yeah, and I think wider family members might just recognise what you're doing and then harbour some concerns or other questions which they won't ask. But my really closest family have done just that. Ask questions really carefully to make me think, oh, golly, I need to go and do something. But it's always been that compassionate. And my two sons have been rabidly positive, I would say. You know, go for it. Well, you haven't heard what I'm talking about yet. Go for it anyway. Okay, what's the worst could happen?
Yeah, we were saying that earlier, and I think just how you've shared in the journey, as in how, you know, being in the sort of world of employment. Do you know? Obviously, now you're out of it. You sort of you'll always reflect, I'm sure, back on that journey. You'll utilize it in the work that you do today and stuff like that, which is normal anyway. It's that's ultimately what you want to help people with. What would you say the old Nick was like? Looking at this like newer, maybe enhanced version or life purpose Nick, if you was to look back at the Nick who was in that 37-year, I don't want to say rut, but 37-year sort of career path, what was the old Nick like?
I think I had stepped into what organisations would like you to think are really important, which is status, title, money, comparison with others, gathering technical information, being able to regurgitate that, becoming renowned, which I think is a really good thing in certain quarters, but become renowned for something so you have a reputation. Most of that is really rather good in the corporate arena. Right. But I think I kind of decided that was my path, going back to your point, until I retire. But that isn't. So there are a number of jobs that I did that really made me. And there was others where I look at them on my CV and think, yep, I spent 18 months, 2 years, 2.5 years doing that. And all it was adding to my technical prowess. Not sure it made me renowned for anything or gave me an enhanced reputation. But I did it. It was like doing a period of time, a tour of duty almost. Yeah. Not sure it was the best use of my time, some of the jobs.
Right. And so in terms of that, though, if like you look at yourself as like your behaviours, like your life outside of work as well, like who did it make Nick into? So I think I don't know if you were saying burnout or something like that prior. What did it bring into your life as a result of being in that, I don't know, societal conditioning or the corporate conditioning, as you were just saying?
So there was, and I really should have listened to this. This was quite a few years ago. This would have been 2011. I love motorbikes, and I couldn't solve a problem with the motorbike that I hadn't had the engine in parts. And I had a fantastic friend of mine who's an explorer, goes all around the globe and what have you, gentleman called Graham Hoyland. And we were working on this motorbike, and he turned casually to me and said, "You know it's changing you, don't you? And it's a question sufficient that you have to ask, what is and in what way?" And he said, The role that you're doing, the job you're doing, you know it's changing you, don't you? That made me go in on the Monday, this is on the Sunday, the Monday, and do a little bit of work that day to update my CV to move on. And that goes back to the point you were making earlier, which is people see something that you just don't see.
Right.
And he was saying to me, it's changing you for the worst. If I then fast forward to what I just described, which is my wife being so tolerant of me coming home, never going to the supermarket, other than probably to get some beer or wine on the way home, never feeding the dogs, on occasion not walking the dogs for days, if not weeks on end, what it did is hollowed me out. However, I can't blame anything else or anybody else.
No.
It was me. I allowed it to hollow me out and be filled full of work things. So I'd be sat in front of the telly, I'd be attempting to listen to something, and I was thinking about work.
Right.
Now I don't.
No.
It's so different. So different.
I think a lot of people relate to this, though, Nick, in just what you shared there. The fact that, have you thanked your friend, by the way, who said...
I have told him, and the worst thing is...
Because I think that's a brilliant thing, because it hits, don't it?
Oh, yeah,
I mean, at the time, you'd be like, well, maybe you shrug a little bit and go, yeah, whatever sort of thing, but the fact that it impacted you there and then, it changed it straight away, which is... I
hope I did, but what I'll actually do is when this comes out, I'll post it to him to make sure he sees, but he needs to take enormous amounts of credit for what he thought, but more specifically what he said and how he said it.
I think, just you repeating that, I could imagine that sort of happening, and it's quite powerful.
Yeah.
You're changing, you're not the same person, all that sort of thing. But you did make a change. But where you said about missing out on these things at home, in the moment of sort of like being in this work mode, hustling mode, just on average, I know this is like a really random question, like what would you say how many hours did you work a week? Did you know? Did you roughly, was it just constant grind? Was it 7 days a week? What did it look like?
So there were some awful markers, which is I used to set my alarm for 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm sure you get up earlier. Yeah. But I found myself setting it for 5:55 or 5:50.
Okay.
And the obscene logic was I could get to work 5 to 10 minutes earlier. And then I would race the other oblivious cars. They had no idea where I was racing them as I went down the M56 to get to work, which was my last corporate role. So I could get into work for 7:20, so I could be at my desk and start my PC. Big set of stairs to go up to my desk. I'd take my PC out of my laptop bag, and I'd start it. So by the time I got to the top of the stairs,
wow,
I would then be able to log in. And it would all save me seconds. But the seconds that I would then use for not having lunch, not having any sort of break for coffee, but I would have one at my desk. And then I'd leave at 7 o'clock or so, or 6:30, bearing in mind I have an hour's drive home too. So 7.
Really?
6, 7, would be a typical day. And where most people try and then finish early on a Friday, I was trying to round off so many things that my Friday was rarely an earlier finish.
Wow.
Which is just really wrong.
Yeah,
really wrong.
It's interesting. So what was you contracted to, though? So your hours, was your hours 7 till 7? Or what was it?
37 and a half hours. So 9, 5, 8, 4, whatever it is.
Really?
Yeah.
So what so okay then, so let me ask you this. What was your sort of reasoning, if you look back at it now, for showing up earlier than you sort of needed to be and finishing later than you needed to be?
Ooh, this is a real disclosure. I never thought we'd get this far. There were people that worked for me, and I hate using that term, but I worked really closely for, and the organisation had them reporting to me, who put in probably more blood, sweat and tears than I did. And I felt, and it was a weakness of mine, that I couldn't leave before they did.
This is going to relate to a lot of people, by the way.
So there were some significant people that bust their gut.
Okay.
So one particular lady, and I haven't got her agreement to use her name, but she was in a team of 4, 3 left. She was the only person that did that role, really high pressure role, and she did it for month upon month upon month, never taking a day off sick, even when she was poorly sick. There was another person that worked for me, and she would quite coincidentally get in before me, and one of the things I used to do at the end of the day is, when are you going home? Why are you staying? What are you actually working on? And she would work longer than I did.
Wow.
And it was just the effort that they were putting in as their, I like to think, servant leader at some point. I can't just say, hey, it's 5 o'clock, I'm off. So really bad behaviour of mine. Right. Happy to be beaten up all over for this.
No.
That's what it felt for me, is I couldn't just leave them because of what they were doing. They weren't doing it for me. I wasn't that influential. They were simply turning in the goods for their people. It was just a tremendous thing to watch, but a tremendously bad habit of mine.
And did you ever share that with anyone?
Yeah.
And what did they say?
They, like me, tried to change, to do less hours, and were partially successful. But we become conditioned; it becomes habit forming.
Sure, I get that.
But the one person that I said was in a team of 4 that went down to the team of 1, huge amount of focus. I've never seen anybody under that amount of pressure and manage it so well.
Right.
And the one regret I have is bringing it to that person's attention in an open forum, which was my leaving speech when I left, and it upset them.
Oh.
They needed to know what everybody thought of them, because they rescued that situation till we were able to recruit people in. And they did it for such an extended period of time. I will never see efforts like that again, I hope.
That's, I appreciate sharing that, by the way. I mean, that's pretty deep stuff. But also, it's quite gold that you've shared there. Because I think just where you've spoken very early about the corporate world, where you had, I mean, obviously everyone's got their own experience, everyone's got their own views, but where you've spoken early about the status, you know, the ego, I can in a way empathise and understand that part of sort of working harder, you know, getting there before them, like leaving later than them, so they know that if you're the senior or the leader or stuff. I was kind of like that, just relating to you, but in a football capacity.
Yeah.
So I used to do extra work to try and be fitter than everybody else. I tried, you know, and I got there earlier to do, you know, more mobility, and I wanted to prove that I wanted to be this, you know, professional footballer. But in turn, you know, when I look back upon reflection, it was crazy to think that was ever going to pay off, really, I guess, in my world.
Yeah, but rugby and football and probably other sports, you're playing for the number on your back.
Oh, yeah.
Which is, in rugby, you want to be in the starting 15, not on the bench.
Yeah.
So all that you did was to ready yourself, but also for other people, organically and nicely, to see that you were ready for that number that you wanted on your back, not the one that they were going to give you.
Yeah.
So I don't think it is wasted time.
It was sort of, I think I did the working hard but not the smart part. So I was putting all the time in, but as a result of that, I was doing too much. So it initially, I guess it gave, you could say, the stripes, it gave you the sort of credibility, but in the long run, it was a detriment. It was actually become more negative, if that makes sense. That's where it sort of led me. So for you, in your sort of role, just going back to sort of like where you, if you look at it upon reflection or in hindsight of starting early, finishing late, would you have changed anything if you could go back?
Oh, God, yeah. Absolutely. It was a ridiculous thing, and it slowly built up.
Right.
What I had is sufficient influence with people, not over them, to try and encourage them to do something different, because I wanted to do it purely selfishly. So really what I should have concentrated more on is how I could have helped those that nominally reported to me to make sure that they had a nicer life, which would have bought me less hours and a nicer life at work too. But it goes back to your point about not just doing less hours, but working cleverly to do so. So a number of times I was saying to people, if you really push for time, how could you do it less, whatever that is? Do it less well, do it with less time committed to it, do it less frequently, and that would unlock for some people. But then some organisations see you've got some more capacity, so they load some other things in.
Yeah. So even that though, like so you was, I guess, sort of teaching these individuals below you that was part of your team to sort of not work as much as you, but or was you sort of trying to help them not be there as much and get things done at a higher performance level, or?
Yeah, because of the calibre of the people that reported to me, I was never teaching them anything, I don't think. They always had it in there. And I think sometimes in any organisation, I'm not talking about the last one that I work for, you have to give them the permission. So I can think like that, yeah. And I can do something a bit innovative, yeah. And you don't need to check it in with you, no. Right, but what if it goes wrong? Goes back to our point of what's the worst that could happen? Is there really something we can't rescue? And it's actually giving them the opportunity to say, well, I could look at how I could do less hours, how I could do something cleverly, how I could miss a deadline where, and there's always some things like, I need that last thing on Friday. Really? What are you going to do with it on Friday night, Saturday and Sunday? That's a false deadline. And therefore, try and get people to examine those things to say, no, maybe I don't want to do those things quite as first envisaged.
Yeah, it's interesting because where I'm sort of taking this in is that you know, like I say, you've contracted 37.5 hours a week. You've practically done triple that, almost triple that. You know, in the workload, obviously, you like you said, you did it sort of, there was the status, there was the going up to the higher roles. Obviously, you sort of looked at it from your team's point of view, going, yeah, I think I'd be quite embarrassing if I come in late, rocked up, and then left early when I'm supposed to be the senior, you know, and I can imagine so many people relate with that. But, you know, for you, was there ever a moment in that period that come up as I don't want to say a breakdown moment, but a moment that sort of gave you a bit of evidence to go, there's not much longer that I can sustain this? Because the way I'm hearing you talk about it, I'm like, how did you even sustain that amount of workload while still having a fantastic relationship at home with your wife, great, you know, with your kids? Because you see so many get torn as a result of that work sort of thing.
Well, I think it's the last point you made there, which was, I think it was the deterioration of my home life that was saying no more.
Right.
And a bit like when you wake up one day, is it today or is it going to be tomorrow? Okay. A bit like you snoozing your alarm and so on. And I just had those feelings and thoughts for so long, and I'm still trying to rescue the situation, if I'm honest.
Right.
That my home life was just gently being flushed away. So, you know, at the weekends, you know, I'd occasionally look at emails on my phone.
Right, sure.
My wife and I were just about to find a pub, I think it was on Anglesey, and I got a call from somebody from work, and I took the call because I knew it was for them quite important. For the people that directly reported to me in my last organisation, and I still stand by this, I said to them, you can contact me day or night. I'm happy to support you because of all they did for me. Everybody else can go and sing.
Yeah.
But the fact that I took that call in Anglesey, that was a real startling moment for me. And I got engrossed in the technicalities of it and coaching the person at the end of the phone. They were coincidentally making the right decision. But that was a real difference. I'm here with my wife. We haven't got the dogs with us, which isn't really relaxing. And yet here I am taking a call and then took another call from the same person just to round it off. And that for me, when I kind of looked at my wife and thought, what am I doing? And she was really polite about it and nice about it and all the good stuff. But it was really quite key. It was the fact that my home life was suffering so much, and I could see a better way. It just meant less of a bloated salary.
So there was, so obviously that's interesting you say that, because you was aware of it, which I think, you know, I guess some people, they are aware of it, maybe they just ignore it. Some people are not even aware, they're oblivious, they're just so in the hustle mode, or the, you know, the work mode and pleasing others, whatever, and they just, and then it's like as soon as something explodes, it's too late, sort of like someone's left, or kids don't want to have anything to do with them anymore, or anything like that. So there is that element there that I guess gave you a little bit, I mean, like I say, just an example, taking that phone call whilst you're away on, I guess, a very intimate trip and time away from the dogs, the kids, whatever. So I'll ask you this, because I think this is a good sort of question. You know, when you sort of said to your wife and your kids, look, I'm leaving my corporate role. I'm gonna go into this purpose of mine, and I want to go into coaching people and helping them transform their lives. How did that make you feel to be able to actually say that out loud?
Oh, yeah. Some of it was a bit mechanistic.
Right.
Which is, I've saved a bit of money.
Right.
There's a bonus that's due, like a lot of companies have a share of their profits type bonus.
Right.
So it became very mechanistic, which is, I'm going to resign on this date because I will have realised my bonus and saved some money by then. But then that was the in to be able to say, and this is why I'm doing it. And I don't think I described it as well as I should, certainly to my wife, around, I think this has been a really bad thing for my personal life. She knew it.
Yeah.
She could see it way better than I could, but I don't think I signalled that sufficiently well to say, this is why, because I'm just doing nothing. I'm a shell of a person. I possibly am functioning really well at work or quite well at work, but that isn't it anymore. It needs to be something different. So I think it starts with the mechanistic, by the way, this is how I've minimised the risk, but then that was a nice into, but this is why I need to do it. And that's where her compassionate questioning came in, where I thought, this isn't destroying it, it's adding to it, it's making me think of some things, and oh yeah, I need to do that as well as a risk mitigation or a what if the stuff hits the fan moment, how would I recover it? But actually it was all supportive. But
yeah, no, absolutely. I think you said mitigating the risk. Obviously, you're quite risk averse yourself, but I think the position that you've clearly shared, and the audience, I hope, are sort of feeling this as they're listening and watching in, is that, look, you was in a fantastic position to explore something. You know, I mean, obviously, a lot of people will hear stories where, you know, people say today, make it all dramatic and go, I risked everything. You know, I was sort of in absolute debt carnage. I maxed out multiple credit cards to go in on this passion. And maybe they did make it work, you know. Obviously for you definitely did do it smart, which I think is nice to hear. But also at the same time, you're following through with something that you truly want to do, even at the young age of, 56. Right? And the fact that, you're following through with something that you've always wanted to do. It's not just being a sudden switch. It's been 20 plus years. Yeah.
And somebody asked me, or rather intimated, it was a very courageous thing to do.
Right.
You said yourself, you've noted that I'm risk averse. I will only ever do something when the risk is diminished sufficiently. It's okay to do.
Sure.
And I had to train myself to move away from reduce risk only, then do the thing, to vision the thing. How good could the thing be? And actually, instead of just reducing the risk, how brilliant could it be to do whatever? And then really most of what I did was based on cowardice. So I didn't do it till my mortgage was paid off. I didn't do it until my two kids were, fully dependent on themselves rather than me, till I haven't got a haven't got a loan for anything, had saved some money, had played at being a coach for 2 or 3 years prior to making the decision. But that for me was all building up to, that's managing the risk out of the way, but actually how good could it be?
Yeah.
And I spent years, probably since 2000, I'd say, so roughly 4 years of coaching people while I was in the corporate space.
Yeah.
So I did some really naughty things, which is I relied on my people. They did some fantastic things. They were technically brilliant, far better than me. Why would I tread all over them with making their decisions for them or even trying to influence them? I left them to do, and they did splendidly. What did that give me? The time to coach people at work to get them to a different place. All that I did was based on cowardice and experimentation, careful, risk-managed decision-making.
Is that something that's been like in every decision that you've sort of gone for, or is that something that you approach with everything, or is there more of a riskier nick in anything?
Oh yeah, good point. In work, no. So I always see the risk in everything, and only when I can diminish it, mitigate it, reduce it, whatever it might be, then I'll do it. But some of the things that I do, so I love trials motorbiking, and I've had a few instances with that. I love riding road bike, and boy, I've had my instance with that. I love rock climbing, and I'm scared witless of rock climbing. I'm absolutely scared witless of height. But the one thing it gives me is when I'm more than, say, 20 feet off the ground, the whole of my universe is only 2 meters around me. So you were saying about how meditative it is, I think you're bonkers, running up over mountains with no sound other than what the environment gives you. I lose everything when I rock climb because I'm just there in that moment.
Present,
So some of the things I do, mountain biking at ridiculous speeds downhill, that wouldn't be me in the corporate. That wouldn't be me in business. I wouldn't take those sort of risks. But But ridiculously, I'm taking that sort of risk with my own skin and my own neck,
Yeah.
which is bonkers.
Right.
It's like a duality.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's just in a different aspect of your life, like in terms of your personal, you take that risk. So you say you're scared of heights, right? You live in the Peak District, and you've even also said, which I think is a really good point, because obviously I've done a little bit, as you do, a little bit of research. Obviously, we've had a conversation anyway, where you want to actually provide an experience for your clients to coach up in the mountains. So really it's like they'll probably have, I mean, I don't know whether this is the case, I'm just sort of spitballing here. They'll probably have a case of fear when they're up there with you, just because they don't know what's going to come out of the session, the fear of unknown.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You've got the fear of heights. So you're both battling fear up in the mountains, but you're having a coaching session together.
Yeah.
I think that's epic.
And some of it can be, what I found with talking with some people is they want to be side on to you. They don't want to look at you when they disclose or when they say something, or they don't want to see your reaction. They only want to hear it.
Yes.
So actually walking with somebody, literally, rather than just figuratively walking beside them, now that can be on the least demanding of terrain, following a nice natural river down at the level.
Yeah.
Or it can be, well, why don't we meet at somewhere like Stanage Edge and do a bit of scrambling, because that will take you out of your comfort zone, which is actually verbally where you want to go as well. Quite whether I'll take somebody bouldering or climbing as well, I'm not so sure. But there could be some challenging stuff. I think our conversation about an hour ago made me think about that more when you brought it up. Yeah.
I think it's a great thing. And just where you said there, though, about people would prefer probably to be shoulder to shoulder than rather probably directly like we are, opposite each other. It's interesting because I went out, I know we're going off a bit of a tangent here, but it's relevant to what you've shared, is I went on a run with a guy and he sort of opens up with me. And you can tell he's uncomfortable sharing it, but he's sharing it anyway because he feels comfortable sharing it with us whilst on a run.
Yeah.
And he was saying he was listening to a podcast, this is talking about men here, and he was saying that men really feel intimidated or struggle in say, a cafe or coffee shop area where you sat opposite each other.
Yeah.
Obviously, pub, you may have a sink a few and then share. But actually, when you're moving, such as running or walking shoulder to shoulder, there's a bit more less intimidation, and you find that guys open up a lot more on a deeper level that way. And it was just an interesting point that he shared, because that made a lot of sense to me. It might not make sense to some guys who's listening here might not relate to it, but I think from my point of view, I definitely feel like if I'm sat opposite and you was asking me deep questions, I'm okay, I'd still answer it, but time ago I wouldn't, you know.
Yeah.
You'd sort of be closed and guarded.
Yeah, you've made me think of a chap that I started more or less my career with, and we've kept in contact. And in fact, I think it's next week we're going for a walk when the weather's half decent, which in the Peak District's not often.
No,
we go out once a month, and we do naturally walk side by side.
Yeah.
And we tend to open up to each other mainly about work and a little bit about family stuff. But actually, you've reminded me that dynamic works so well. And he comments, so do I. It's like we've not been apart.
Yeah.
And I think part of that could be we're walking by the side of each other, in front and behind because of the terrain. And it just allows you that comfort of not looking the person in the eye as you say something where you're waiting for judgment or waiting for a reaction.
Yeah.
It is that bit more comfortable.
Yeah, it isn't. If you've noticed there, a lot more people struggle with eye contact. You know, we're relatively looking down, down at our phones. We're sort of, I don't know if you're crossing people in the street, it's sort of, you don't want to look and say, like most people struggle to say, hey, hello, or whatever. It's just sort of like looking straight down. But I think there's comfort in other ways. And I think just what you said there in terms of the shoulder to shoulder, and I've realised that is actually quite a powerful tool for a lot of people to open up about where they are and where that sort of present moment. Yeah.
It's just that little bit safer, isn't it?
Yeah, I definitely think that. So just going back to the fear part, because I think this is a good... like for you, because obviously we all have fear, right? What would you do if you didn't have fear?
Oh, this is the question, Luke, you should have asked me decades ago. Which is, if you'd asked me 20 years earlier from now, I think I would have done what I'm doing now.
Really?
Yeah. I've waited way too long.
Okay.
And here are my excuses. It doesn't matter what they are. I'm thinking off the top of my head, because my kids are young. Oh, they need to go to university. I need to pay through that. Both my wife and I need to pay through that, and so on. But they're all excuses. Because coming through to the other side, I now know how little money you do need just to be able to work through. A lot of the things that we go after with my excuses, I need those trinkets, I need those luxuries, no, I don't need any of those. So where were you 20 years ago when you should have asked me that question? So I think
where was I? No, I was still alive. I was about 10 years old, something like that,
So that's the thing, that going back to your earlier question of what made me do it now at the ripe old age of 56 is I like to think I've got plenty of time left, and I'm not sure I've used it as I should have done. I chased something in the career sphere, whereas that wasn't the thing that was going to make me purposeful and happy.
Yeah, this is good. I mean, are you finding them with your work now? Are you attracting younger people? And are they looking up to you as a role model and you're sort of guiding? Like, so obviously you say openly you've made mistakes, there's been excuses for like 20 odd years, or are you finding it to be a bit of a mixed bag, or are you finding older people that want to sort of, because they're looking up to you and go, I don't want to retire yet, I just want to find this purpose? Or
I've never thought that until you've said, but most of them are younger people.
Interesting.
I'm not sure that they want to follow the same path and say, right, when I get to 35, I'll jack this in and do something different. I think there's some more mature people in age terms that are probably listening to some of the things I say, reading some of the things I write, and I'm not always saying you need to follow me and jump out of a corporate career.
No.
What I'm saying to them is, if you find a purpose, you can indulge yourself in your corporate career, you can incorporate that and stay, but enjoy it far more. I did from 2000 through to more or less when I left, when I knew I wanted to pursue it even more. I had a marvellous time experimenting with coaching virtually every hour of every day in my corporate role, but I wanted more of it. So I think there are some older people who probably may take something from this, which is, I need to do something to be happier in work and stay there. Or some others that might say, I've been thinking of this for a while. Yeah, I too want to do something, and it looks like it can be done.
Yeah, so you've got two sides of the scale. It's just good because the way I see it, I think there's two sides of the scale, like we've just shared, really. Like, yes, the younger people that probably are now getting into the sort of, like what you were saying, kids, financial security, but you can share that actually through your experience, that what you may thought is what you needed at the time wasn't actually a reality as you got through it on the other side. And that was like 10, 15 years plus of that period when the kids are at home, the important years, but actually that would give them, I guess, a bit of inspiration, hope and comfort, knowing that, oh, okay, I thought that's the way it had to be. I thought that was the sort of condition. So you're given that, but then on the other side, the older generation, or not the older generation, but the people that are probably like similar age to yourself, like maybe striving for that retirement, going, why wait till you're retired?
Yeah, and actually you're pinning your hopes on being able to retire in the traditional way. I read a book called The 100-Year Life, and I keep reminding my kids that it's there to be read.
Right.
And it talks in my generation about 3 phases of life: education, work, retire. Right. And there's a blurring about exactly when to retire. But they talk you through the financial position of most of the developed nations, where they're saying, not sure there will be the traditional retirement. So they introduce a model of work for 5 years, take 2 years off. Actually, 2 years retire, work for another 5 or 7 years, take 2 years off. And there's some people that have done it really well. What if the model that I'm seeing that I could enjoy starts to become more scarce for people like, guess what, your generation? So how would you retire throughout your career and then find something at the back end of life that you can still do, that earns you some money, that's really fulfilling, purposeful, you gain from it, both financially, emotionally and intellectually.
Do you want to retire?
I thought I did. But, you know, with developing my business now, I do have a bit of free time, and I'm using it quite carefully. I don't need a lot more free time. What I want is to fit in with my purpose and continue doing what I get massive kicks out of. And within reason, if I can string a sentence together and meet somebody for a walk on Stanley Edge or wherever it happens to be, I'd really like to continue doing that. At some point, I won't be able to, but...
No, but the thing is, you like I say, you're living in the moment, you don't want to retire. So in your own perspective then and view, because obviously sometimes people see things differently, I'm seeing this and I'm hearing this a lot more, that people kind of already say they're retired if they're following their life's purpose. Like, I'm already retired in a way because I'm doing what I love. And what do you think's the reason that most people nowadays, even in today's world and generation, that they actually don't want to retire? I hear this a lot now. I don't want to retire. I'm going to just keep going as long as I can.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've met quite a few people where they've said just that. No, I don't expect to retire. I don't want to.
Yeah.
And it always prompts, so what do you do?
Yeah, of course.
How do you spend your time? What do you get out of it? And I think there's some people that are saying, I don't want to retire because it's scary and I don't know how to. And there's others saying, why would I retire when I get so many kicks out of?
Sure.
And then they describe what they're doing, or the fact they haven't finished yet and they're going to do something else with it. You think that's great. But I'm not convinced by all those that say, I don't want to retire.
Yeah.
Absolutely not convinced.
No, I mean, it's just, I just wanted to hear your view, because I think obviously, you'd be at that. I mean, you're not now, obviously, with the mindset and the life and the work that you do now, but probably you did once think, oh, I'm only 4 years away from retirement. God, I can't wait. Like people do, they're sort of wishing their life away. They go, I'm 5 years away. Oh, I'm now 4 years, and they're sort of waiting, but they're not happy. They've not got much fulfillment. So what would you, so just because you've got experience, right? You've now gone into this. What would you be saying to somebody that's listening into this, they're watching this, that deep down, they're probably watching this and going, that's me. I'm literally counting down my retirement, but I'm not like actively saying it a lot. But inside of me, I'm literally going, I've only got 5 years till I retire. I can't wait for my retirement part, but they're really not happy.
I'd say it starts earlier than that. If you can recognise in yourself that you are waiting for the next weekend, you can't wait for the long weekend.
Yeah.
You find Easter because it's 4 days and
all the bank holidays.
The nation gives it to you.
Yeah.
Or you're waiting for your 1 or 2 week holiday and boy, do you need it. That is what it feels like when you're getting 5, 6, 7 years away from retirement. So if you're having those thoughts early, do something. We talked earlier about when I was sat on my backside waiting for my knee to repair. You can do lots of thinking. That's the beauty of being away from work. You can do lots of thinking. But if you do no action, it's utterly pointless. And it just becomes cyclical thinking. So if you're thinking, I can't wait for the weekend, I can't wait for the long weekend, when's my next holiday, when's Christmas, any break from your toil or your work, you need to do something. Even if it's momentary thinking and one small action. Whatever that is, dip your toe in the water, experiment with something, try something. It doesn't have to be revolutionary. See if it makes you feel any better. And if so, capitalise on it. Take notice, be aware of it, and capitalise on it.
Yeah, it's really good. I like it. Sort of, you've simplified it. You've made it's accessible. Everybody can sort of, because everybody knows there's something deep within them. If they sort of now, like you say, wishing their life away. Oh, I can't wait for the bank holiday. Can't wait for Friday because I've only got a half-day shift. That in itself is, again, it's quite common, but the fact that if you're aware of it, you know that something deep inside you've got to change, but taking that one action step rather than just being in that thinking mindset is I think, I know it's thrown around a lot, but the way you've put that together is really good.
And it doesn't have to be revolution.
No, it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be this massive game changer. I've got to do this now and I'm all in. It's just exposing yourself.
It is just finding something. If you're waiting for the weekend, look back over the week and what did I enjoy the most? What could I prioritise? What could I spend more time doing? How could I capitalise on that and do something that gives me more back that makes the following week even better, or the following month if it takes a while to do it. But do something. Don't just accept that we all just toil and then wait for a weekend, a long weekend, Christmas or holiday.
What would you do to break your pattern or break the mold? Like if you're like sort of, you know, when you sort of in your, I mean, we're going back to your corporate role, but you know, you've got your 7 till 7 days, you know, you've got your weekends. It can feel quite monotonous, repetitive, going through the motions, you know, when sort of life is just going and you're sort of on the conveyor belt, or maybe you're just in a blur, right? Like what, like just even for the people that are listening, because they might, because I know I sort of hear this a lot from feedback, and people say, yeah, but Luke, I don't know. Like, I don't know how I can break it. I don't know what I can do to change. I don't know where to start. I don't know where to look. From your own experience, again, from helping others, what would you do to break the pattern? What would sort of stop you in your tracks to sort of see things differently and then it be an impactful?
So I eat 2 P's. One is find out by sitting down quietly and think about what your passion is. So for mine, when I was in the corporate environment, I worked in a very technical environment and I loved that in my formative years. But the thing that really switched me on was the people and trying to lead them and get the best from them. So find out, first P is, what is your passion? What part of your work are you passionate about? May not be very much. And then the second P is prioritise more of that. Right. Doing it better, doing it to a greater degree, doing it so you get some feedback from it, doing it so people see you're renowned for it and call upon that a bit more. It has more requirement for, and therefore you're going to do it more. And then you may experiment with a few passions and then trying to prioritize them. But you'll find more when you say, I don't know what that is, you'll find what that is. But you do need that quiet time to work out, what am I passionate about in work? Most people would say, none of it. No.
You just challenging it, yeah. You've got to challenge it.
There's something in your day, your week, your month, or whatever it is that you do like, you're semi-passionate about. How could you prioritise it?
Well, you probably, I mean, I know people say, I don't want to be here, but there's got to be something, because otherwise you wouldn't be there.
Yeah.
Surely.
Well, in my career, there's a whole load of people that do say something like you said, I hate it here, or whatever it might be. And then you look at their employment record, they've been there 7, 10, 12 plus years. So there's definitely something that they like. There's definitely a passion they have. Yeah. And they could prioritise it more, or they're not prioritising it enough. That's what they need to do, I think. In my humble opinion. Yeah,
I think it's just, again, like what you said, that little bit of space, that time, that just silence, whatever it is, to sort of do that deep work. What do you feel that stops people from doing this? Because I want to ask you this question, because I think I'm hearing this a lot on this platform, where people all say, like, you know, when I ask like, what changed for you, and it become that sort of deep inner work. It's within. Why do you think people are not really exposed to it, or don't look at doing it, or feel really agitated or uncomfortable when people say that, to just even be more exposed to it? They're like, and they just neglect it, push it away, and then just carry on with the norm, if that makes sense.
So I think it is that what you've described is so quiet versus the rest of the societal conditioning is so loud. I can remember now opening up my kids' infant school bag to see what marks they got for their reading and writing, because I knew that other parents were going to say their kids got a mark. That so you start to compare your kids, your life, your trinkets, your cars, your holidays, your status, your promotion, the company you work for. They're really loud and reinforced noises. How many people in our life have said, yeah, but what would you rather do? What would you really do? What's your passion? You know, that thing that keeps coming back to you. Has it come back to you again? And this time, is it more in focus, in colour, and it's louder and bigger, and you know, you just can't ignore it. And that, I think, is too quiet. And that's where, you know, certain friends, like my friend Graham, gave me a warning. And other friends, like my best man, tell me things which make me think differently. They make me think visionary rather than diminish risk. And I think they're too quiet or too infrequent for most people to look for them or listen to them, I think.
Yeah, I like that. You're talking about like the noise, the loudness, and then the quietness and the stillness and the space. I think, again, I think it's sort of, I don't know. I see it where people don't necessarily even want space in the calendar or want to know that they've got spare time. It's always they want that time filled. Something always has to be happening. You know, something just, there has to be speed going on. It can't ever be slow, because if it's slow, then I'm wasting my life. If that makes sense. So just in your world, What helps you slow down?
Just as you were saying there, I had that realization when I went from corporate, all of my time was spoken for. Lots and lots of meetings. I was running, participating, key in, whatever. My diary now, oh my goodness, it's my own. What is that about? So actually I can take time. It's things like, at the moment, I have a Thursday meeting. I've probably mentioned this to you. So what I don't do is work some 2 or 3 hours on a Thursday afternoon to get some of that time back. Some of that, as you said earlier, is where you walk around or you happen to do something and an idea comes to you. Not purposely doing it, but something comes into your mind and you think, oh, that would be useful. But in 2 hours' time, when I get it back in front of my laptop and I choose to start working again, I just have to remember it. And I think that for me is the difference. I'm trying to make time in my diary versus what you were saying, which is people are trying to cram into this. Maybe I have the luxury of being able to think that way, whereas I didn't, say, a year or two ago.
So what have you, so now being a business owner, you obviously, when just so people can check in on this, so obviously 37 years in the corporate world, how long now have you been self-employed?
Okay, 2 answers to that.
Okay.
Which is I left my corporate job in May and we went around France and Belgium in the camper van, arrived back in Blighty in June. That I laughingly say is when I started my self-employment.
Okay.
And it really was a case of, here I am, world, form an orderly queue, which is just a nonsense. But actually, I knew a little bit more at the beginning of November, so that's when I started my proper business. So that's when I've started, what's that, sort of 6-7 months. I've learned so much. I've had lots of experience. I've experimented with loads of things that just didn't work. And they were kind of vacuum activities that kept me busy and kept me involved. Did nothing for my business.
Right.
But I don't regret it at all.
No.
I think I mentioned earlier, at one point I disclosed to people I had been self-employed for 310 days.
Yes.
And I'd had 2 despondent mornings. And when I say despondent, it really was, oh God, do I have to do this today again or as well? But by launching in and doing something slightly different, bit of thinking, definitely different action, I bounced out of it really quickly. So,
So officially, so for you then, non-officially was June, would you say?
Yeah.
Or officially was...
my last salary was in May.
Okay. So you got the payout then.
Yeah.
Obviously went travelling a little bit, June. Did you say, was it November?
Yeah, that's when I started to learn some art around what is marketing and what is sales.
Sure.
And until then, I kind of thought both were sleazy, but I understand them so much better now.
Okay. So 6 months as a business owner, if you want to say officially, into coaching. What have you learned the most so far?
The range of people that approach me, both that become clients and potential clients.
Okay.
I thought I would probably, if the right term is, niche down on the leadership development because I've had lots of it, developing myself and developing others. But some of the people that have come to me have purely lost focus and clarity with their own business, and they just need a little bit of injection and listening to. Some of the other people are struggling and suffering with burnout. Some just don't realise their potential and they're splendid individuals and they just need to have it self-reflected. So the range, that's what I've learned. The sheer range of people that I can help.
Right.
A little bit of advice, I can definitely coach, and that I can walk with them to a better place. Either they have great promise and they're going to get there, or they're really struggling and they're falling back, and I can help them recover themselves.
Oh, that's amazing. The diversity, the adaptability, the different types of people. I really like that. And I'm sure, I think, do you know what? Do you know when you say that? To me, it's kind of refreshing because, you know, when you step into a business, maybe like you've gone back, haven't you? And I know you said about the conditioning of like the corporate world.
Yeah.
And what you just said there about the range, that's that to me seems quite freeing and quite refreshing.
Yeah, and the fantastic thing is, I didn't do it; they did. I put a post out on LinkedIn saying I solve less problems by the day. The more I coach, the less answers I give, the more epiphanies, evolution, revolution, or even revelation some of the clients get. And it's just marvellous watching it. It's like one of the most absorbing TV programs, the best movie you've ever seen, with a positive twist at the end.
Sure.
It's just splendid to see. And I do less and less of it. They do more and more of it.
So becoming a dad back in 2023 has definitely been challenging at times. Being on this entrepreneur journey, having multiple businesses, it can be tough, but it doesn't have to be. One way to kick off your personal development journey is nestled in the heart of Montenegro. Syro Boca Place offers more than just a lifestyle experience. It is the ultimate active lifestyle hotel. Whether you're looking to rejuvenate in their state-of-the-art recovery lab, take a dip in the 25-metre half Olympic pool with a retractable roof, or explore the stunning trails of Boca Bay, there is something for everyone. And if you're like me, who wants to stay active and experience what is on offer, so if you're looking to elevate your travel experience and feel better than when you arrive, to get in on the experience, head over to www.syrohotels.com. Yeah, that's a really good frame. Well, Nick, we're actually getting towards the end. That was a really good piece of this episode. We're getting towards the end. I can't believe it because it's just suddenly like, phew,
it's gone so quick.
Blink of an eye, really quick. This is, look, I mean, obviously, this is a perspective that I'd love to hear your views on, as we've been talking a lot about different eyes, different minds and stuff like that. So this ties in well. It's a question I love to ask every single guest. It relates to the podcast.
Okay.
So, Nick, what does mastering your life mean to you?
I think it is always having a direction that you're going to move in, regardless of where you are at the moment. So my particular example was driving up in a corporate environment and potentially something further, but it's actually having a direction and not being scared of saying it isn't what I'm doing and it isn't what I've done before, actually letting go because you have that purpose, that direction, even a calling, dare I say it? So that for me is how you master your life, is listening to those things rather than looking over your shoulder at where you've come from and the fact you really ought to continue and wait those 4 years for your retirement and just wait.
I like that. Really, really good piece. I like the direction piece. Really, just go back to sort of your hike map that you was talking about. So look, if people have listened, watched this back and have decided, I just want to reach out to Nick, I want to get to know him a little bit more, I want to follow his stuff and hear this journey and see more of it, where can people find you?
Okay, due to being lazy, I tend to use only one social media, which is LinkedIn. It's
fine.
But because I want to give people something, the hiking map that you referred to, I intend to publish that as a newsletter. Now, where I've published a newsletter before, I've recommended for people to read it in order. This won't be. It'll be various aspects of it in 10 parts to be read in any order, read the wrong way round, as long as people identify with it and do something. Do some thinking, do some action.
Okay.
Exactly.
Brilliant.
So I want to give that, it'll take me a few weeks to produce, but I will issue that out once a week for people to be able to consume, use. I'd love their feedback.
Absolutely. There will be people, we'll ensure that goes all in the show notes so people can follow along, subscribe to the newsletter and support your journey. But Nick, honestly, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on our platform. Story's been insane, really good depth to it, and the mindset you have as 56-year-old man, I think, is phenomenal. So thank you for sharing and spending time with us. And for anybody that's thinking podcasts, this is the one, and this is so relaxing. This is almost like therapeutic. So thank you. No. Thank you. No problem. Thank you. Thank you once again for everyone tuning into this episode. From us, if you enjoyed it, if you've taken value from it, if you just tap a like, drop a comment below, and even better, support us on our journey moving forwards, just hit that subscribe button. We'd love to hear from you. Feedback is welcome, and look forward to seeing you on the next episode.